do have for a very special guest, and this is going to be a returning guest for the rest of the NFL season for 3 games to break down of his choice. Our Monday guy here, kiiLkenny.
Yes,
Thanks
sir,
for being
baby.
here, man. We appreciate the hell out of you. This means a lot to us. How's everything going? How was the move? What's up, man?
What's going on, fellas? Good to see you. Good to see both of you. I'm jealous looking at your studio. I miss having a banging studio of my own. Still temporarily in Sea Isle City, so we've got the JV setup going right here. Camera's a little blurry. We don't got the stuff in the background. I'm looking at 2 professionals right here, but life's good, man. It's Victory Monday for Eagles fans. We're sitting atop the NFL at 8-1. It's hard to complain.
It's the it's what I call as what a sloppy game it was, but this I was calling you earlier the Sea Isle City weapon for being down there for like the summer and all that kind of shenanigans. Let's kick things off here with the Philadelphia Eagles, now moving to 8-1 atop of the NFC East and the NFC. A sloppy win for the boys, for your team, Kenny, and your team, Manny. But let's kind of break this down a little bit. A 28-23 victory here. Sloppy win. Penalties towards the end of the game there. Jalen Hurts getting banged up. Still comes back. Bradbury and Slay getting banged up. You saw Dallas Goedert go down. But now we get to talk about Dak Prescott as well and what happened where we look at him and he tried all he could to get this win for him. He had the penalties down late, CeeDee Lamb snapping, and it just didn't go their way. And we can talk about all that we want to say about the Dallas Cowboys, but every time they play a very good football team, they fail to win. It was just like the 49ers. They can beat those bad teams, the teams that aren't so great in terms of standings, in terms of roster-wise, but when they play the big dogs, they just do not perform. What were your thoughts on this big divisional win, but also to keep these Eagles as one of the top dogs in the in all of football?
Well, shit got scary. Clearly, it's another one of those games where I feel like we couldn't get, like, our run game is just so dominant, and we get a lead, we just want to milk the clock and just run the ball down your throat, long drives, and I felt like we had just way too many 3 and outs in the second half. Mm-hmm. And look, you got to give credit where it's due. Dak played great. As an Eagles fan, obviously I despise the Cowboys. It's so much fun to make fun of them and to poke fun at Dak, but I think all things considered, Dak has been a very solid quarterback throughout his career. He played great yesterday, but I think all people are going to remember is, he stepped out of bounds in that touchdown run. And it just, you look how important that play ended up being in the outcome of the game. At 8-1, it's probably one of the sloppiest, weirdest 8-1 teams that I've seen in a while. Yeah. There's still a lot of issues on this team, mostly with the secondary. I mean, we've had the injury bug just really since week 1. I think if you take all of our week 1 defensive back starters, I think every single one of them has missed at least 1 game this year. So the good news is we're going into the bye, guys can get healthy, and then the gauntlet of the season really begins. We head to Arrowhead against Kansas City, a little Super Bowl rematch on Monday Night Football. And then I think after that, we have the Bills, Cowboys again in Seattle. This is where the schedule gets brutal. But
you got the Niners too. Niners in that stretch too. It's just a big stretch.
And we get the Niners, right? So I think, look, you got to be excited about being 8-1, but you're looking at 800 pass yards almost combined from Dak and Sam Howell over the last 2 weeks. That is not a Super Bowl winning recipe. I don't want us to have to outscore every team, make it like a race to 30 every game. But again, at 8-1, you can only complain about so much. I love this team, and we haven't even begun to peak yet. So I think we're only going up from here.
That was a good point, because we have not begun to peak at all, and I've been saying it time and time again every single week we go on the reaction show. It's not pretty, but I kind of don't mind that it's not pretty, because these guys are getting battle tested every single week. The 129th iteration of Cowboys Eagles did not disappoint. This was definitely top 3 most exciting Cowboys Eagles games. I don't know, for some reason, just how good both these teams are, the stars. Getting to the bye week, we need the bye week, we need air. Hurts going down, Bradbury last drive, Slade last drive, seeing them 2 come back in gave me so much pride and just makes me love this team even that much more. You are right about Dak. Dak has been consistent in the Eagles-Cowboys series. One thing too, I was shaky about Mike McCarthy this year going into the season, but I think he did a great job of getting CeeDee Lamb involved. Had him out the backfield on some doing Texas routes, was able to get him the ball in the slot, obviously because he knows Slade's not going to follow him around. This game was incredible. We make statements every single week. I think the statement that we made this week is there's different ways we can win football games. Sometimes it's going to be, for some reason, Brian Johnson, some weeks it's Swift. Sometimes it's AJ. This week, it just felt like we were going to lose this game. And time again, I think the continuity of this team, the leadership of Jalen Hurts, keep guys together, come up with big drives. I don't know. It's just another big week to be an Eagles fan. It feels fucking great to say we're the best team in football time and time again. And it's just the Bears, baby.
You look
And,
at
my bad. All I was going
ahead.
to say was I do think there's value in playing competitive games. I mean, I felt like, even at the end of last year, like we felt like we beat the hell out of so many teams, and we hadn't really been actually tested. And then when Hurts went down, we lost both games with Minshew, and it got to the point where in week 18, I think we had to win in order to secure up that bye. And like, I thought that was a good situation to be in. Like, give the guys an actual real tune-up game heading into the postseason in a game that has a little bit of competitive nature to it. And I guess to a fault, we've played ourselves into games where pretty much all of our games have been somewhat competitive this year, minus a few. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but let's get healthy and let's a couple of blowouts over the next couple of weeks to give the starters a little rest certainly wouldn't hurt us.
I want to ask you about one specific call that had a lot of talk on Eagles Twitter. It was a 3rd and 3, fourth quarter. We throw the deep ball to A.J. Brown. Kind of was not the best pass by Jalen Hurts. People were saying we could have ran the ball there. I do kind of agree, but in the fourth quarter, our run game looked horrible. You do expect to get maybe 2 yards with DeAndre Swift there to be able to run the tush push after that. I don't necessarily hate going to our quote-unquote money play, which is Hurts to A.J. Brown. I don't like it being a fly pattern. I would like to see like maybe a slant, maybe a comeback. But what did you think about that play, and what were your opinions on that?
Like we had a lot of trouble moving the ball and running the ball in the second half, so I certainly don't mind it there. And look, I think when you're 8-1 and the offense has looked as good as it's looked from all of last year, throughout the last year's playoffs, and then throughout this year, I just think like I have a hard time doubting anything or any decision that this offense does. I trust Sirianni, I trust Hurts to make the throws, and if our choice is run the ball or throw it to our legitimate MVP candidate, maybe top 2-3 receiver in the NFL, I'm never going to complain about that. Now, did it have to be like a go route? Maybe not necessarily, but again, like it's just like we're playing with house money here. I trust this offense to do literally whatever they want at any time, and if it's not broke, don't fix it.
You bring the point up of your MVP player, your wide receiver out of AJ Brown there. Is that where you would rank him in top receivers in the NFL? I mean, we saw Tyreek Hill obviously in the travel of going to Germany and the argument of Tyreek Hill being number one. I think now after the statistics that we saw these past couple of weeks of multiple games of 125 yards or more is just incredible. I know obviously he didn't get there yesterday, but I think it's hard to not put him at number one in the NFL right now. I think it's hard. Is that fair to say?
It's close, right? I would say that it's close. Look, I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm an AJ Brown fan, and I'm also I have so much appreciation for what Tyreek Hill can do on the football field. So I think right now you can put him at comfortably 1 and 2. With a healthy Jefferson, who knows where he slides into the mix. But I'm cool with going 1A, 1B right now. I'm not ready to put one ahead of the other. I know it's a bit of a cop out. It's kind of like the Jordan LeBron argument. Just go 1A, 1B. I don't care where you have them ranked, but they're clearly 1 and 2 right now, and there's a whole lot of separation between them and the next guy.
You go into a huge stretch, like you said earlier, where Arrowhead, obviously the Super Bowl rematch, we obviously can't wait to see what kind of narrative is going to be behind that game and if they can go to Arrowhead and get a big win there. I don't know if you have some early predictions on obviously no bias, but in a game where the Chiefs continue just to find ways to get scrappy wins. They don't look like that number one team like they always are, but in a game at Arrowhead against the Super Bowl rematch, is there a slight prediction that you can kind of shout out for what your Birds are going to do next week?
I can't even look at it yet. I want to see how we look health-wise coming out of the bye
post bye, right?
I haven't seen like any really updated injury report coming from last night, but I mean, dude, I'm excited. I know one of the games we're going to talk about next, but like that'll be week 11. Like the week 11 slate is going to be just magnificent, and to cap it off with Super Bowl rematch, Monday Night Football. I mean, it's not going to get much better than that. But I don't mean to blow the content here, but I got no predictions just yet. I'm just trying to enjoy being 8-1.
Yo, how bad did you shit your pants when that Jalen Hurts hit to the knee happened? I thought it was over, bro. I sunk so far down in my chair, saw him limping. That motherfucker is tough as nails, man. Holy fuck.
Yeah, dude, my heart was in my stomach. It's just that's a moment you just as a fan you never want to see, and it's like your season is like flashing before your eyes. So thank God he's just an absolute workhorse. Thank God he's healthy, and let's keep him that way.
Let's move over to our CJ Stroud game, the best rookie quarterback in football, setting records left and right. The Texans win this one 39-37 on a comeback game-winning drive from CJ Stroud, setting a rookie record 470-5. What a performance from this rookie. We were talking about it when Anthony Richardson came in, and obviously when he got hurt, it was, well, we know CJ Stroud's this guy, but I was more on the wavelength of Anthony Richardson being the better quarterback. Now, obviously, you can't say that because Anthony's hurt, but CJ Stroud has really shown that he is the best rookie quarterback, and he's really the franchise guy for the Houston Texans. What did you see out of this game here? There's multiple different connections that we're finding week in and week out of what CJ has in his wide receiver room and even just his receiver room. Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, Tank Dell, Nico Collins. You got Mechie in there as well. So many weapons for him to go to, and yet a game where Baker Mayfield needs to find a way to get this win to have their hopes of winning the division. CJ Stroud just shuts the door on that.
And doing all of this with zero run game. The Texans for the year are averaging 3.3 yards per carry. That's the third worst rushing attack in the NFL. So the fact that he's been able to do what he's done with zero help from the backfield, I think makes this all even more impressive. But what a game, man. It's hard that it's this early in the year, like, this abundantly obvious what the right pick was in terms of the number 1 overall pick and the number 2 pick. And look, I don't want to dunk on Bryce Young right here. They're in different situations. I think Stroud is certainly in a situation that is going to, I think, breed success a little more. But I mean, I think it's pretty clear. Like, if you went back in time, the entire league would take Stroud number 1 overall, no questions 100%. Asked. And so much for the importance of that dumb IQ test. I guess they make draft picks take. Yeah. It's like the S2 cognitive test, and it was like they leaked the scores, and Stroud got like an 18 out of 100, and Bryce Young got 98 out of 100. Like, it means nothing apparently because CJ Stroud is an absolute wagon. One thing that I thought was funny, and we can go back to Stroud here, but what an absolute cuck job to Baker Mayfield. Like, before that last Stroud drive, the story here is, hey, what a great gutsy, ballsy, game-winning drive by Baker Mayfield in a must-win game. They're down 3. I think he gets the ball with 4 minutes left, and it gets to the point where they have 3rd and 23 on their own 38-yard line. Just like, here's the game right here. 21-yard pass to the rookie Palmer, and then 4th down, 5-yard scamper from Baker to keep the game alive. And then what would have been the game-winning touchdown pass to Cade Otton with 46 seconds left. It was just a truly impressive drive from Baker Mayfield, and no one will ever talk about it because in the next 46 seconds, CJ Stroud ripped their hearts out.
Dude, you're 100% right. Bake was snapping, and on that last touchdown to Cade Otton, that cashed my man's 2 touchdown ticket. I don't know if you saw that, but it was Cole Kmet, Cade Otton, 2 touchdowns each for like 5 to win, what, 10 G's?
But it's something crazy.
Oof.
Like,
my guy had an electric day. But then CJ Stroud comes down 40 seconds. On the first play, they had to burn their last timeout. I think it's runs. CJ says, no, I got Tank Dell. Dink, dink. Now, I understand it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're going to run that Tampa 2, cover 2. It's going to be soft. But, I mean, 3 straight plays, Houston just had the number on that defense, and they didn't get out of it. And I don't know. Out of CJ Stroud seeing that poise, you said the thing about him having no running game. He's also been the most blitz quarterback this year, and he's also been incredible against the blitz every single time. This kid's a GOAT in the making. We're really watching the generational transition of this player. I love CJ Stroud so much. I'm so happy for Texans fans because of what they had to deal with. Had J.J. Watt, obviously had Deshaun Watson, thought they were going to be here, went down here. They had Davis Mills. Davis Mills probably happy now. He doesn't have to play football no more. I'm going to have to be a backup now. Good for the Houston Texans, man. And shout out to Baker Mayfield, too, because he's not getting the respect he deserved for this game. He balled the fuck out.
Just a huge game for Texans fans as a whole.
Holy fuck.
I mean, this was a game where, like, even from a betting standpoint, if you look at it, like, I don't know.
Whoa. This is not an over, bro.
Yeah.
It's not an over,
like,
bro.
We talked 2 weeks ago about it was the Browns and the Colts, and Manny's whole clip was like, you know, RIP to the unders bettors, because who's going to pick an under in this game with a big-time defense out of the Browns? Not even that there's big-time defenses here in the Texans and the Bucks, but I don't know if there's a lot of people out there
40?
said like 40 points apiece for the Texans and the Bucks in Houston. But just like you said, you just got to be happy for Texans fans, and especially for CJ Stroud. And there's another stat here that CJ Stroud has more passing touchdowns than Kenny Pickett in 13 less games. And on this show, we are statistically, consistently Kenny Pickett haters. So to see a stat like that is incredible. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that there.
I mean, it's just crazy, man. You talk about like the overall total in this game. Like, the pulling this from Matt Jacobs on Twitter, like the theme of the year has been unders. And if you're like a prop better like myself, like it's just unders are cancer to touchdown props. But like this week, unders were 10-3. Since week 5, they're 47-23. Since week 3, they're 67-35. On the season, they're hitting at 61%. And then in primetime, it's even worse. In all primetime games, the under is 21-7. And in the last 10 primetime games, it's 9-1. So it's the theme of the year has been under. But then I feel like in the games that go over, there's like 1 or 2 games a week that just there's 95 points scored for no reason whatsoever. The one was that Colts Browns game that we just talked about, and then this week, man, it's just like it's averaging out the point totals in this weird way. But it just we have these outlier mega over games mixed in with under crap, and it's been a weird year, I think, from a total standpoint. But yeah, man, if you're a Texans fan, you got a lot to be excited about. Like Dalton Schultz went for 10, 130 and a touchdown yesterday, and he was like your 4th best player on offense. So things are looking up for the Texans. The Stroud boys are rallying. It's man, good for you guys.
You touch on the primetime unders here as we move to the Bengals and Bills on primetime last night. Huge win for Joe Burrow and the Bengals, 24-18. And Joe Burrow, we're now learning, he was asked at the end of the game in the sideline reporting saying, well, how do you feel? Like, how do you feel now compared to what you did at the beginning of the year? And all he said, I can run now. Yeah. And when you have the confidence from Joe Burrow, I think this is one of the scariest teams in the AFC and the NFL when Joe Burrow's healthy and 100%. Big win for the Bengals, but also you look on the Bills side of it. The Bills needed to win this game for division hopes. The Dolphins already lost in the morning in Germany against the Chiefs, and even though they already beat the Dolphins, they lost to the Jets. This is a big game that they got to win to keep those division hopes alive, and that's just for me, as a Bills division future bettor, I needed the Bills to win this game, but Joe Burrow shuts the door on that. Big win, 24-18. What are your thoughts on this game? Obviously, I saw you had the Jamar Chase and that I think it was at plus 3,300 lay there. You had the Joe Burrow rushing yards, just missed by 7 rushing yards there, and then Jamar Chase not getting the end zone. What are the initial thoughts after this big win for the Bengals?
Joe Burrow was back. We got shafted too. He had an 8-yard rush, I think, in the first quarter that got negated for an offensive holding call, and that ended up being like those 8 yards would have cleared a good amount of money. It is what it is, dude. The league is just more fun when Joe Burrow is back. Like there was this, like the first couple weeks of the season, there was just like this awkwardness, right? Because one, the under train had already started. The first few weeks of the season were just sloppy across the league, and you had a hurt Joe Burrow, and the Bengals looked atrocious. You already had Rodgers get hurt in like their 4th snap of the year, and it was just like. I think this cloud sort of hanging over the league, and I feel like we're getting a little bit of sunshine as a star like Joe Burrow is looking like a star. And last 4 games, he's looking the part. They're 4-0 in their last 4. In those 4 games, he's averaging 283 yards a game with 10 TDs and 2 picks. Like Joe Burrow is back. This offense is humming for like 95% of the game. I feel like they stall out in random parts, but for the most part, I like what I'm seeing here. The defense, I think the jury's still out here, and that's going to be the deciding factor as to whether or not this team gets back to the Super Bowl. But this team just has it right now, man. Joe, he's a natural-born winner, and when he's playing like this, they believe that they can beat anybody. And dare I say, on paper, they don't match up quite with the Chiefs just yet, but I think the Bengals right now would be my pick coming out of the AFC. I just think that Joe Burrow got the juice. He was, they went to the Super Bowl, and then they were a really bad late hit penalty from going to the Super Bowl again last year. I think they're on a mission this year, and it's Joe Burrow versus the world.
And remember what you were saying about the primetime unders and all how the primetime game's been so bad? I had so much hope about this game. And Joe Burrow comes on the field first drive, gets his touchdown. Wait a second,
14-7.
Josh Allen answers.
In the first quarter.
Then Joe Burrow answers again. I'm like, oh, this was the prop gold mine. I was scared because it's a primetime game. I didn't bet all the props. I'm like, look at me. Then they just stall out. And I have a question for you about this Bills offense. Why doesn't Ken Dorsey run the ball? We don't run the ball at all, Ken Dorsey. I understand it might not be the strong suit, but I mean, the Bengals, everyone in that building watching the games just knew what was going on every single drive. Josh Allen's going to drop back. And not even give James Cook a chance. And I don't know, just the inconsistencies with that, I think could have helped the Bills offense propel in this game a little bit more. I don't know.
The Bucks backfield has just had no rhythm. I mean, coming into the year, it was a revolving door between James Cook, Latavius Murray, and Damian Harris. And I get teams wanting to cycle in running backs, especially early in the year, keep guys fresh, keep guys healthy. But I think there's also value in just getting guys in rhythm. And I feel like James Cook is clearly the best of the three backs. He's the youngest. There's the most excitement there. And he hasn't really gotten into any sort of rhythm throughout the season. And this game does not really play into it. I mean, the Bengals have a solid rush D to begin with. And then they were trailing by a touchdown or two for the majority of the game. And at some point, like your 2nd and 6 handoffs are just going nowhere. They abandon the run. And I know it's kind of like an archaic thought of, establishing the run in football, but like it's clearly so important to the health of the rest of the offense. And again, they just haven't had that this year. And Bills fans have a lot to be worried about, man. I mean, again, they were one of the favorites to come in winning the Super Bowl. You have to give them at least a bit of a pass for some of the defensive issues. Yeah. The injury bug is really, really killed them. Like it's not, again, as an Eagles fan, I'm complaining about our secondary. The Bills have had far worse. Tre'Davious White going out for the year, arguably the best cornerback in the NFL. Matt Milano getting hurt. I mean, those are they're two of the 5 most important players on your team, if not more. It's no surprise that there's been a struggle since those guys have gone down. But if I was holding a Bills division ticket, I got to be honest, man. I'm not sure how good I'm feeling about that.
Yeah, I'm not feeling good about it.
The Bills are minus 110 to make the playoffs.
I know. It's getting a little scary now. I want to shout out the moonshot for this play here. Dalton Kincaid, 25 or more receiving yards in both halves at plus 650. And that just takes us over into Dalton Kincaid. This is a rookie in back-to-back games. 11 targets in this game. I have him in multiple fantasy leagues. And as a fantasy owner and as a bettor for anybody in the moonshot, this is just a fantastic play. I can't shine more light on this kid and the tight end that they found. Let's not forget they also had Dawson Knox, who is not a bad tight end. It's not like we're looking to draft another tight end. Dalton comes in here and says, this is my position. I'm the number 1 guy, and you're going to find me at 11 targets every single week. Just a huge performance there, and obviously a great cash at 650 for B-Matt, Kenny, and the boys at the moonshot.
Back-to-back weeks too, man. Again, it's probably one of the very few positives from the betting world yesterday. But Kincaid plus 650 for 25 each half, back-to-back weeks. He's just a wagon. And with Dawson Knox hurt, man, all the targets are getting funneled to him. It's very clear why they burned a first-round pick on this guy when they already had a pretty good tight end in Dawson Knox. The kid is the real deal. He did, I think, sell a lot of people's tickets by like that fumble essentially ended the game. Like if they score there, it puts a little more pressure on Cincinnati to I think be a little more aggressive on offense, and maybe it keeps the game alive. When he fumbled it there, it essentially iced the game, and it was run the clock out city after that. But the kid's the real deal, and I would be stunned if we got anywhere near that price on him going forward. I mean, in fantasy, he's got to be tight end number 1, right? If he's not 1, he's got to be close.
Oh yeah. And just last few quick thoughts here. I know you said about the Bengals being possibly the top in the AFC. Would you take them over the Ravens now in the last couple of weeks that we saw them blow out the Lions, sloppy win last week, and then you get a big win here, 37-3 against the Seahawks. Are they a team to look out for over the Bengals? Are we still gonna put the scary Joe Burrow, healthy Joe Burrow above the Ravens?
It's close. I mean, the Ravens are the real deal. I think the Ravens are I think there's maybe 4, at most 5 teams right now that could win the Super Bowl, and the Ravens are absolutely one of them. They dismantled the Lions, and then they just dismantled the Seattle Seahawks, 2 what would be playoff teams right now. So again, the Lamar Jackson record versus the NFC is weirdly laughable. He just does not lose to the NFC teams. And they squeaked out a win against the Bengals in week 2 against the banged up Joe Burrow. So I'm very excited for I think they're in 2 weeks they play in Baltimore. So that's going to be a very telling game. Like right now, I think the Ravens might be better, but as the year progresses, Burrow gets more healthier and the offense just gets in more and more rhythm. I still think when it's all said and done, I'm leaning Bengals, but they're far and away 2 of the best teams in the NFL.
And last thing here, I want to, as a Giants fan, I do have to ask this question. Just very abysmal performance again, and it's just a harder and harder team to watch every single week of football after last year. When I say it all, I've been saying it for the past couple of weeks of this football season. The excitement into the season, and now you look at them now, it's just laughable. It is unreal how you can go from here last year making the playoffs, winning a playoff game, and then an absolute complete switch. And now Daniel Jones is done for the year. ACL, signed a $160 million deal, $82 million guaranteed, $40 million a year. There was the $35 million in incentives. Now there's rumors going out that this was his last game potentially played in a Giants uniform with Drake May and Caleb Williams. Do you think there's a possibility that after a $160 million signing that the Giants would really look to draft one of those two guys?
If you guys get one of those picks, I don't know how you don't. Look, I don't envy Giants fans. You got your 2 Super Bowls. You made your deal with the devil, and now you're reaping what you sow, because it's going to be tough sledding for Giants fans for the next couple of years. What you guys did wrong, the biggest mistake the Giants did was making the playoffs, and then winning a playoff game last year, and giving the fan base this misguided sense of hope. Like, coming into the year, the Giants, I think, were the youngest team in the NFL. You had, I think 2 rookies starting in your secondary to start the year. Like, there shouldn't have been any hype coming into the year, but you're coming off a playoff win. You got Saquon healthy coming into the year. You just gave your quarterback a bunch of money, and out of nowhere, you're in a New York market, and expectations are going to be abnormally high to begin with. But this team wasn't really on paper supposed to be that great, and they went from not that great to total utter embarrassment in the fashion that only a New York team could do, either the Jets or Giants. At some point, you guys will figure out that you need an offensive line. You haven't had an offensive line in 15 years, and that is the root of every single problem that this team has had since your Super Bowl wins, and for whatever reason, you guys just refuse to fix it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Can I ask you one question, Kenny, before you get out here? Again, I'm sorry, my fault. But the whole season, this Bijan situation in Atlanta, it started off with fantasy guys and betting guys kind of having the biggest take on it. And now I see that it's fully Atlanta fans and fans across the NFL kind of what's going on down in Atlanta, Arthur Smith with Bijan Robinson. You're a gambler guy, fantasy guy, just all around NFL guy. What is your take on what's going down there in Atlanta with Bijan Robinson and Arthur Smith?
I have no idea. I can't even begin to wrap my brain around it. I get it. Algier is the bigger back. If there are certain situations you want to give him a crack, that's fine. But it's like Bijan is in purgatory and he did something wrong, and Arthur Smith is just weirdly punishing him publicly every single Sunday. Arthur Smith is one of just the most perplexing coaches in football. And what's weird is that this Falcons team is just very underrated. Their defense is legit. And Heineke at least gave them some serviceable quarterback play yesterday. So this team has actual potential. I just think Arthur Smith is getting in their way, and I think it was the wrong choice to draft Bijan where they did anyway, but you made your bed, lie in it. You drafted the guy, give him, and running backs are in the unique position where rookie running backs and first, second year guys, their NFL prime is their first 2 years. If you're going to use a first round pick on probably the last need that your team actually needed coming into the year, then you better be force feeding him the ball 25 touches a game. And the refusal to do so, which has cost them games, it's mind numbing. So if I was a Falcons fan, I would already be depressed because I was a Falcons fan, but I would be even more depressed watching our star running back just not get touches.
Arthur Smith's got to tell the boys to get some carries or make his son do it. I don't know if you saw that video.
The video where his son is giving the ball to Bijan more than
every time.
What are we doing?
Kenny, we appreciate your time today in these 3 games. Excited to talk to you for the rest of the season on games that you choose. We appreciate it. Have a great day down in Sea Isle, and we'll talk to you next week.
It was a pleasure, boys. Talk next week.
Hell yeah, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenny McGinnis. Unreal.